because from what my sources are telling, and now it's breaking on India Today, the Red Fort terror attack was not a suicide attack, not a planned suicide attack. And this is what sources have been telling me all along. Big story now being confirmed by top officials in India's intelligence agencies. Inside scoop on the Red Fort blast here on India Today. This was not a suicide attack. It was in panic that Dr. Mohammad Umar triggered the explosives that he was carrying in that I-20 vehicle. That is what sources are telling India Today, because the vehicle was in transit. Remember, there hasn't been an instance in the past where a vehicle was in transit, slowly moving from one direction to the other, stopped at a red light, and suddenly there was a blast. In the past, every time there's been a VBIED or a vehicle-borne improvised explosive device, it was by design, by intention. For example, Pulwama in 2019, RDX and explosives were packed in that car, and that car went and banged into the CRPF convoy, killing 40 personnel. Or I want to take you back to the first VBIED attack that took place at the main gate of the Badami Bagh cantonment in Srinagar, when the first suicide bombing in Kashmir had taken place after the Kargil war, where a local Kashmiri lad rammed into the main gate of the Badami Bagh cantonment. That was by design. In this case, sources are telling India Today, after initial assessment, this was not a suicide attack. The suspect, Dr. Mohammad Umar, triggered the explosion in panic. The bomb was prematurely pieced together. It wasn't a fully developed improvised explosive device, and fortunately, it limited the impact. The explosion did not create a crater. There were no shrapnel. Remember, IEDs, like we were discussing even yesterday on India First, an IED has ball bearings, it has nails, it has screws, because the moment it triggers an explosion with high velocity, with high intensity, these projectiles, it's almost like little bullets. These projectiles go and embed themselves in your body, your eyes, your brain, your head, your ear, your entire body, and they dismember your body, and a person can die if a projectile, if it's a screw, a nail, a ball bearing pierces your body. That is what an IED does, and I've covered many of these IED attacks in different parts of our country. This was not that. The vehicle was still in transit. It was moving when there was a sudden explosion. I quickly want to cut across to India Today's Muneesh Pandey, who joins us with the latest. And Muneesh, you've been speaking to your sources in the intelligence agencies and the police. Bring us details of their initial assessment.
Well, Gaurav, few things are very clear. The person who is responsible for carrying out these attacks at Lal Killa, where I'm standing, he panicked, and in that panic situation, he carried out that blast. It is very clear from the initial finding by the intelligence agencies. And why he panicked? Because there was alertness, there was action carried out by multiple agencies, including Jammu and Kashmir Police, where they carried out, search and seizure operation in Faridabad. There were several of the key individuals who were detained or arrested by the Jammu and Kashmir Police. And it was very clear, because at 6:10 yesterday evening, Gaurav, there was a tweet also by the Jammu and Kashmir Police regarding Dr. Umar Muhammad, is that you can run but you can't hide. So it was very clear that he panicked, and in that panic situation, when he reached this particular spot where I'm standing, he decided to carry out the blast, a bomb which was not even fully developed, and this is why the impact was very limited. There was no crater, there was no shrapnel. As you rightly pointed out, Gaurav, we have covered several such blasts, and in which we have seen the impact is huge. But in this case, the impact was limited. Unfortunately, 9 individuals, 8 innocent individuals lost their life. Several others
Muneesh,
are
just
injured.
try and explain
but
this to me.
Even the agencies are saying that
this was not a planned offensive, but explain this to me. He entered Delhi, and we are looking at the timestamps of those images. He entered Delhi at 4 minutes past 8 in the morning. Early morning, 8 o'clock, from Faridabad through the Badarpur border, he enters Delhi, goes to that Okhla petrol pump at 8:20. Where was he between 8:20 and 19 minutes past 3 o'clock when he entered the Sunehri Masjid parking lot? What did he do for 3 hours between I think 19 minutes past 3 to 48 minutes past 6. Where was he during this 3 hour period?
Well, Gaurav, he left Faridabad yesterday morning, and later when he entered Delhi, he took several routes. The CCTV images have appeared before the agencies. They have seized those CCTV images, and they are trying to track the entire route. But it is very clear that he was not very sure where to go, where to carry out the blasts. It was not. It is very clear from the initial investigation. For 3 hours, Gaurav, he was in the parking lot. What he was doing, what he was thinking, that is still not clear. And moment after he left the parking lot around 6:20 in the evening, it took almost 20-25 minutes for him to reach from that particular parking to this particular spot, and around 6:52 he carried out the blast. It means that he was not very sure where to carry out the blast. There was no support to him. That is also very clear, because most of the key individuals were either arrested, detained, or they were pinned down. They were holed up. So there was no ground support to him. There was no one to carry out a recce for him so that he can choose a better place to carry out the blast. And in panic, he decided to, detonate the unprepared bomb, what the agencies are calling, at this particular spot.
So, also explain to me, before I bring in our guests once again into this conversation, what was the reason that Dr. Adil, Muzammil and Omar Mohammad, we'll talk in just a moment, these two doctors from Uttar Pradesh, Dr. Shaheen Shaida, this lady doctor who apparently was setting up the Jaish-e-Mohammed's women wing in India, and her brother, Dr. Parvez Ansari. I mean, they were doing so well in life. They come from a good family. They had multiple homes. They were doing well, MBBS, MS. What made them become terrorists or suspected terrorists at this stage?
Well, Gaurav, it is very clear that these individuals were radicalized in a manner that they risked not only their lives, but they went against the country. They participated very actively, not only for a terror network, but also for carrying out terror activities. And as far as Dr. Shaida is concerned, it is very clear that she not only provided ground support, not only provided logistical support, but she also provided her personal car to carry out the weapons, for example, AK-47 and other such things. She was also, arranging funds for it. That is what the sources are telling us. At the same time, Dr. Umar Muhammad, he was also linked to several other doctors in the same area, from the same university, from the same premises, and it appears that those individuals have also been questioned, because they are the one who at this point of time have key information. There are 6 individuals, Gaurav, those who have been questioned today, 3 by the Faridabad police, 3 by the Jammu and Kashmir police, and all because they were in touch with Dr. Umar Muhammad. And it is very clear, Gaurav, that this network is much bigger than what it is appearing today. There are several individuals who, in eyes of general public, they hold a very sophisticated role, that they are doctors, they are doing very well in life, but at the same time they were conspiring, they were working on behest of their masterminds, probably from across the border, and they were involved in terror activities. Gaurav.
So from what my sources in the government are telling me, there's a list that's been drawn out, those doctors who were in touch with Maulvi Irfan Ahmad. And this is where that list becomes very crucial. Over the years, how many people had he indoctrinated? Are these all young doctors, or are there sleeper cells? Remember, these are sleeper cells of terrorist organizations if they're carrying out a terror attack to bleed innocent Indians. And Dr. Zinat Ali, the last 30 seconds I have on this part of the show, these elements who may have been indoctrinated, perhaps now are at crossroads. They can either walk back, join the mainstream, or perhaps, as Prime Minister Narendra Modi warned, they will not be spared. Strictest possible action as per law will be taken against them.
Absolutely, you have to take the action against them. But there's just one thing I'd like to point out. When we are talking about radicalization and the people who are radicalizing, You see, when I mentioned the imams, I just didn't mention them for any reason. You have to
Yes.
get hold of those people who are trying to radicalize and destroy the mind of the young people. It brings to mind this film that was made many years ago called Dil Se. You see, where this girl, becomes a
Yes.
suicide bomber to destroy something. And because she was brainwashed. Now, the whole point is that how do you radicalize? How do you radicalize young people? That's because you misquote, you misteach the teachings, and they use religion as a weapon. And
Oh,
it has to be
absolutely.
de-weaponized. You have to de-weaponize religion. And here I'm going on
And
to
perhaps
quote
that
you.
is where it comes from within religion and within well respected members of the community like yourself, who can do it and do it so effectively across the length and breadth of our country. The process of de radicalization, because perhaps now it's time to choose. And I sincerely, sincerely believe, Dr. Zeenat Shaukat Ali, many thanks for joining me on this part of India First. But as we end this show, it's time to choose, and dil se, I hope the choice is India first.